Om Shanti. It's nice to be in a small group in Madhuban, right? Just a small group of double foreigners. And I think more are coming. In October there were over 2,000 from, I think, 100 countries, something like that. When I first came to Madhuban, I was part of the first large group from the whole wide world that numbered about 20 or 25. Now, there isn't a time in Madhuban when I think there's less than 50 double foreigners or 100. So our theme for this evening is Mansa Seva, service through the mind. And I should confess straight away that there are times when, excuse me, I was going to sneeze, I practice that, I have an understanding. I can't say I'm an expert, but we're all moving in that direction. But I do know that over the past couple of years especially, since Baba has been emphasizing it so much in the Muralis, that it is something that I've been paying more and more attention to. And I've come to understand more and more how that really is what works in Baba's service. And yes, I'm someone who's very often, Daddy wouldn't like me using this word, busy, involved, a lot of things happening. But I've seen that those things can only be successful when there is the right attitude and feeling and motivation and stage and state of mind behind it. I was very struck when it was, I think, must have been last January, when Sister Jayanti made her first visit to Pakistan. And she's in Pakistan now. She's in Karachi. She left yesterday, so she would have arrived today in Karachi. And she's made a few visits there now. And I don't know if you remember, but Baba said to Daddy Janki, well, those who are there, I mean, I'm paraphrasing it now, but those who are there are serving and doing what they have to do. But what is working is the sakash that you are giving. Even though you're sitting here, no matter what is the state of the body, and Daddy hadn't been well in that period, because she wanted to go to Pakistan in January, but then she went in April. But what is working is the power of the sakash that you're giving from where you are. And at that time then, somebody had asked Daddy, well, you know, what is it? How do you really give sakash? How do you serve through the mind? And so she talked about that beautiful preparation that is required to go into that deep silence and to clean out the mind, clean out even the subconscious within, so that the soul can really be a mirror that can reflect Baba truly. And you know how when you have the sun reflected on a glass or on a mirror, it intensifies. So we're all the reflectors for Baba. And Baba tells us so often that he needs his helpers. He won't do anything without us. The other day in the Sakamurli, very sweet, where Baba was saying, it's as if I'm lessening my own role by saying everything. I'm in the bondage of drama, it's all according to drama. And yet, Baba, the children together, and the new world is created. And Baba's explaining to us now, okay, there's been a lot of service through words, a lot of service through activity, and that will continue. But it's the service through the mind that is most essential. And souls are suffering, souls are in need. And I don't know if you listen to the news or watch the news. I do, because I feel it's important to know what's happening in the world. But there is really intense suffering. And as was, it was today's blessing, about taking that urn of nectar around and distributing a little. Was it yesterday or today? Yesterday. Or today? It all gets merged. So, what is that cleaning out that I have to do? And I have to say here that I've understood as well that serving through the mind is not just something you sit there and I'm sending out vibrations. It's not just that. Okay, there are times when, and especially third Sunday is a time, you may want to dedicate some of Amrit Vela to that, where you really consciously just sit as a lighthouse and no other thought and just let Baba's Sakash beam out. But service through the mind, and Baba's been teaching us about this, is really about our inner cleanliness of attitude in our everyday activity. And this is where Baba's teaching on pure feelings and good wishes is so important. And I've been researching on this myself because I've seen how in my heart there is definitely the desire, a very pure desire, a genuine desire to be able to have good wishes and pure feelings for everyone. And as Baba said to the daddies on the 15th, well, things happen and sanskars come in between. In researching this, when you try to do something that's very elevated and refined, then you begin to see the bits that are not so refined, because that becomes a mirror. Your elevated effort becomes a mirror. And I've been seeing very clearly how if I react to somebody's sanskaras, I can no longer have good wishes and pure feelings, not just for that soul, but for anybody. It's like it's not true because it's only available partly, if you know what I mean. If I really have the sanskar of giving and the practice of giving good wishes and pure feelings, then it's something that is a sanskar within me, a pure sanskar within me, that is there for every soul. If it's there for some souls and not for others, then it's conditional and it's not a full practice of that thing. Is that clear? Is it making sense? And but it's okay, we have to be patient with ourselves. We're getting there, but to recognize that is very, very important. And when you react to a soul's sanskars, it's like it's like it overpowers you, sort of thing. Have you experienced that? And even if you don't want to think that way, the thoughts come in that way, and there's a tension there. And so I've been understanding for myself that this is something very deeply I have to let go of, so that I can really develop truly pure feelings and good wishes. And there's a remarkable change when you stop reacting to somebody's sanskaras. When you're reacting to them, it's as if there's a tension and that person pulls away from you and you pull away from them. And then things can go wrong, because even if you have experience to share which may be valuable in the situation, it will never be accepted by that other soul because you don't have good feelings for them. In fact, not just that it won't be accepted, it will be rejected, and it'll be rejected very strongly. And then the chances are you'll also get hurt. I'm trying to do something and this person's reacting towards me. Something that Baba said on the 30th of November, which really struck me very deeply. Baba said that if a soul is showing their negatives and scars in front of you, then it means that you don't have enough good wishes for them. Do you remember that? That, some things are like a bombshell here. And, it's not just a question of your being neutral. But it's a question of actively generating good wishes and pure feelings. That's why when we go in front of the daddies, we act differently. Am I right? When you're with your friends or somebody that is a kind of, maybe somebody you don't have a lot of respect for, which isn't right in itself, but say, you can be very offhand with them maybe, or not be very conscious of the way you deal with them or speak to them. And somebody may complain about you, so-and-so reacts. You go in front of the daddies, and it literally becomes impossible to show that side of your nature. Have any of you experienced that? Yeah, I have. It's like something else happens, and something which is higher in you emerges. And so suddenly everything's fine. I know sometimes I've gone to Daddy with a problem on my mind or whatever, and I'll go in front of her and, yes, what is it? Oh, it's okay. Just the vibration changes your mind around, changes your perspective. Because I see how the daddies just generate those pure feelings and good wishes. And those of you who remember Daddyji, anyone here who didn't meet Daddyji, Daddy Prakashmani? Few of you. Okay. Well, you would have heard a lot about her. It's 3 years now, I think, 2007, so yes, just over 3 years since she left the body. I mean, incredible to think how time has moved. And but a few years before she left, somebody had asked her, Daddy, what is the effort that you're currently making? And she said, my effort is to interact with everyone and behave in such a way that only blessings emerge out of the hearts of others. Isn't that elevated? And so beautiful. And this was something I was sharing with the youth the other day, because our coordinators retreat is happening, and the youth forum will be starting next week. But the theme is the reality of royalty, which is a very lovely theme, and it is all about interacting in that way, that royal way, with that love, with that respect, with that humility, treating everyone the same. And this was really Daddyji's speciality. No matter who came in front of her, young, old, of any background, high social status, no social status, it really didn't matter to her. And those of you who knew her know how you felt that treatment and that vision from her. And so I was saying, that, what was I saying? I've lost my thread. Speaking about Daddyji. Yes. That it's very important that however we interact with someone, that we don't do anything or say anything that will lead to that soul being disheartened in any way. And sometimes it can be a little thing. You want to prove yourself, or a comment here and there. It's coming from a subtle ego. It's because of your needs. Okay, you haven't taken enough from Baba. But you can say and do things that can dishearten another soul. Sometimes you feel you need to correct somebody. But that's not our job. It really isn't. And sometimes I watch Daddy Janki, and the way she'll be with somebody, and you'll know their sanskaras. Everybody's got sanskaras. And sometimes you'll think, well, Daddy, when you're telling them, yes, you can do this and that and the other, aren't you just feeding their ego? I can have that thought. But no, now I've really understood that Daddy does not want to dishearten any soul. And so giving the soul what it needs, the soul will be able to be satisfied and to come closer and have their own realization of their sanskaras. But if somebody has a lot of negative sanskaras and you try to tell them, what's the reaction? Have you tried it? Yeah, I've tried it. I've been foolish enough to try it. And the reaction isn't very positive. But don't tell me that. If yes, there's a right time to say something with a lot of love, when there really is a good relationship, when that soul knows you only have the best for them at heart, and you really have pure feelings within, then yes, there can be a time to say something. But even then, I would say nowadays, very rarely. And I've seen how when I let go of wanting a soul to be like something, let go of wanting a soul to change, then just by good wishes and good feelings, automatically that soul will say, well, do you think I'm like this? What should I do about this? Automatically the soul comes to you. It's quite remarkable. And I've seen this happen many times. You just keep a really good relationship with someone, and they'll come to you and say, well, I've been thinking about this, or whatever it is. Somebody asked the other day, when you have a lot of responsibility in Baba's work, and you know that you have to also protect the yajna in the sense that things shouldn't happen that should go wrong, and so on and so forth. And, I was saying that when I met Baba, I think now, over 30 years ago, the second time I came to Madhuban, and we met Baba, a very small group in Baba's room. It's the only time I've had that fortune, and immense fortune. And Baba looked at me and Baba said, you're wearing the crown of responsibility. And those days we would chat with Baba, and I said to Baba, I hope it doesn't fall off. And Baba paused, and Baba smiled, and Baba said, don't worry, it'll stay, and there'll be more, and more, and more. Until today, it's more, and more, and more. But the amazing thing is that the more and more, and I become more and more light with it, which is Baba. It's totally Baba, because otherwise I'm not of that personality to be able to take on responsibility, I would worry, I would get heavy. And so I know it's Baba who's doing it, and Baba who's making me light in that way. When you have the courage to say yes to God, He has to help you. He doesn't have a choice then. And so yes, when you have that responsibility, well, actually, again, if you think a lot about what a person is doing or should be doing, you know, that's a sign of control. If you think about someone or you think about a situation again and again, it's because you want to control them. Make no mistake about that. Is that right? Think about it. I really discovered that for myself. I said, oh, that's what's going on. And in a situation where, yes, you are responsible, quote unquote, because Baba's responsible, again, it all depends on trust. And if you trust somebody, really truly, then they won't betray that trust. I've really seen that. They will want to do what is the best and what is the highest. I feel so fortunate, in many ways being here, but being in London, we have, I just can't tell you, such a fantastic office team there. I mean, everybody, whole team in every department. But okay, it's with the people in the office and working, and I can honestly say that I never have to say to anybody, well, you should do this better, or you should do more of this, or blah, blah, blah. It's usually saying to them, come on, time to go home, you're taking on too much. No, has to get done. You know, there's that feeling, I want to do for Baba, I want to be responsible, I want to do the best in Baba's yagya and in Baba's work. And that's because of trust amongst all of us. And that trust really works wonders when you trust somebody. And so I mustn't allow, now I'm giving class to myself, you do realize, I mustn't allow any reaction to anyone's sanskaras to come in between that will break that trust, because that soul will feel it. And it's better to preserve the relationship than to correct every little tiny this and that and the other. Yes, whatever your standards are, they are, but everybody else is doing the work. And you have to let them do that, otherwise, how are you going to do it anyway? And so being in a big family, in a big yagya, you learn, you have to. Baba said about the power to adjust today. You have to adjust. And all of these dealing with our sanskaras, all of this is the preparation for service through the mind. It's not a separate thing that you do. It's all connected. So the moment when really I have trust in someone and good feelings for them, and from my heart, I'm not thinking about my own self or my position or where I will be, but from my heart I want their progress. At that moment I'm doing mansa seva, because my pure vibrations of good wishes are reaching them. And that soul will respond, and that soul will begin to move forward. And, you know, when people do get upset with you or whatever, I really try to stay quiet, stay calm, and just go inside to clean out my feelings. It's okay, it's fine, it's no problem. And a mantra that I've used for myself a lot when I have been reacting to sanskaras, I've used this mantra: they have their part to play, I have my part to play. And that brings me into a sense of dignity of what I have to do for myself. I know I've told this story before, but this lovely story of Brahma Baba, when in the early days, of course, you know, there was so much upheaval, and everybody knows the stories of the yagya. But Baba's elder brother came to see him. And you know, you never normally disobey your elder brother in that family system, not your father, your uncle, anybody elder to you. And his brother came, and of course his brother was very upset with him because he'd gone against all the traditions of the community, as you know. And it's Daddy Gulzar who tells this story, and she was about 9 or 10 at the time. And Baba's brother came into Baba's room, and Baba was sitting there, and his brother came, and his brother just was shouting at him, shouting. What are you doing to our family? What are you doing to our community? Da 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 da. For a full 45 minutes, imagine. And the little girls, one of whom was Daddy Gulzar, they were watching through the blinds, into the room. And anyway, then after a while, the brother stopped. I mean, how long can you keep shouting? 45 minutes. Probably your throat won't last much longer. And then he left. And then Baba got up and came out of his room. And all this time when the brother was shouting, Baba just remained silent. Just listened. Then Baba got up and came out of his room. And the children came up to Baba, 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 running to him, Baba, Baba, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you defend yourself? Baba said, Acha, you were watching? Yes, we were watching, Baba. And then Baba said to them, when somebody is sick, then they need to vomit it out. Then they feel better. And so he did what he had to do, and Baba did what Baba had to do. Isn't it lovely? And so yes, it was his part to shout and rant and rave and whatever he had to do. And what was Baba's part? If Baba started defending himself and there was an argument, well, where would be Baba's stage? And to what level would Baba be coming to? So what was Baba's part at that moment? To just be quiet, to invoke Shiv Baba, whatever Baba had to do inside, in silence. And Baba did what he had to do. And too often when we get in those situations, we forget what we have to do, right? We think we have to defend, we think we have to answer back, but that's not what we have to do, because that's not the most effective way of dealing with things. When I come into speech that is at all reactionary, then I cannot serve through the mind. And so you can see how Mansa Seva, service through the mind, actually goes throughout our whole day from the time of Amrit Vela on. Amrit Vela is a wonderful time of preparation and a wonderful time to be with Baba with a very, very clear mind. If your mind can be clear in Amrit Vela, then your intellect will be accurately connected with Baba, and you'll feel that flow of energy, that flow of love, of peace, of happiness, whatever Baba wants to give you. And Baba always tells us, I'm especially available at that time giving gifts to my children. So don't miss out on that. But that's the time to make sure my mind is clean. There may be thoughts of yesterday, thoughts of tomorrow, what I have to do. So just move away from them, Thoughts of somebody, move away. Keep that clear focus. And when we're really focused in yoga, I don't find it so much as a question of my mind. Yes, my mind, okay, clear, no waste. But it's like the feelings are very strong. Feelings are very clear. You're just sitting in a pure feeling of Baba's love. Yeah? It's not, you're not doing, you're being. So I just... that famous phrase, I think Mike George uses it a lot, that we've become human doings instead of human beings. And that's a fact. We do, and we forget to be. And Amrit Vela is the time to be. And I remember a beautiful mantra Baba gave a few of us a few years ago. And Baba seemed to be looking straight at me at the time. But of course everybody feels that. And Baba said, at Amrit Vela, let your self-respect emerge, let your original qualities emerge. And for many months I would just sit and practice that, just that thought. Let my self-respect emerge, let my original qualities emerge. And I found a lot of transformation just through that. I didn't make effort on transforming particular things in myself, but they started to transform anyhow. Just by that practice. Because Amrit Vela is the seed of the day. And actually the seed of our lives. Because that's where we take, that's where we focus, that's where we really become aligned to who we truly, truly are. And it's a special time to do that, much more than any other time of the day. Somehow Baba's given this as a gift to us. And yes, there are times when it's maybe difficult, whatever, but let me really, as much as I can, pay attention. And so the cleaning out, I like this analogy when I think about Mansa Seva and the cleanliness that is needed inside. And cleanliness means that I don't harbour any bad thoughts for anybody, no matter what. Now we've got this theme in London, feeling great no matter what. We had a big programme. So this phrase, no matter what, good wishes no matter what. Good feelings no matter what. No matter what's going on in the drama. And so I think of it like, have any of you ever been in an underground grotto? Where they have the underground caves, where they have the stalactites and stalagmites and all that, I've only been once in Italy. And a very big cavern. And it's stunning, actually, quite a stunning thing to see. And in there's a lake. Often they have underground lakes there. And there's no air, there's air, but there's no wind of any kind because it's underground. So the air is completely still. And that lake, the water, is the purest mirror you could ever imagine. It's really amazing to see it. I was really stunned when I saw it. And I feel that's how I have to be for myself. I don't feel I've got there yet, but I love the analogy of being so still inside, so clean, that there's no wind of any kind of other thinking or feeling that disturbs that pure mirror. And so then my pure original sanskars can be seen. Because when the lake is pure, it reflects what's up above, but you can see what's below. The water's completely crystal clear. And that's how clean I have to be. And for that, Brother Niver was sharing with the youth group on this theme of royalty and royal sanskars. we had a theme yesterday, researching our royal profile. You know, like you have a profile on Facebook, you know? So especially well known to the young people. But researching that royal profile, what is the royalty? What are the royal sanskaras that I wish to show to the world? And he was saying that in developing this royalty and this dignity and this cleanliness, one needs to have self-confidence and self-respect. And it was interesting that he used both terms. So the self-respect through deeply emerging and experiencing my original qualities. Once they begin to emerge in you and you begin to use them, then that self-respect comes and that inner spiritual security comes to you, which makes you very, very free. You don't need to prove, you don't need to defend, you don't need. Yeah, we have our physical needs, that's a different thing, but you're free. No matter what anybody's doing, I know what I have to do. And self-confidence, as I understand it, is really deeply having that trust and faith in how Baba is using me as an instrument. Because sometimes we step on the field of service and we see Baba's doing, but we don't feel worthy. Or we then say, oh, maybe it wasn't good enough. It's actually never a question of that. I've discovered whatever Baba's doing is right, is accurate, is the best. I just need to recognize that. And so when I have that faith in how Baba can use me as an instrument, then that self-confidence grows. And I find myself then doing things that I wouldn't believe I could have done before. And I know that's happened to me consistently in my life since I've been Baba's child. From here to here, from the earth to the sky. If you'd have said to me 35 years ago, well, these are the things you'll be doing, and I won't bore you with all the different things that go on. Well, it probably isn't boring, but I won't tell you. But many things, of course. But I would have said, I think you're looking at somebody else's horoscope, not mine. That's not me. I would never, never, ever have believed it. And so I know it's only Baba. But it's courage, it's faith, it's trust. And maybe it's foolishness at times. Because you say yes to Baba and you don't know how you're going to do it, what's going to happen. But Baba gets it done somehow. And of course you fall flat on your face sometimes and pick yourself up. That's okay. You learn, you learn, you learn. And you learn some more. And I remember once, you know, when we were doing, sometimes we do those workshops on learning styles, and Judy, you know, who's with the youth now, she's an expert in all of that development training, and she was with us in London at one point, and she described, she said, some people have, she called it kamikaze learning. And I laughed. I said, that's, you know, the kamikaze pilots, that they would actually crash the plane, you know, to kill. I mean, it's not about killing, but in our case, obviously, but, you know, it's like suicide bombing in a sense. And I thought, that's me, you know. I'll kind of dive into something and then I'll think about it later. Now I've learned to think a bit more carefully. But yes, enthusiasm, okay, and then all the learning that comes from that. But you have that courage, and Baba will help, and Baba will make sure that you learn and that you learn well. And so, okay, I've not really gone off the track, but this is all the preparation for Mansa Seva, to have that confidence inside, that self-respect, that faith. And then that means there are no waste thoughts, which means that you're ready for Baba to use you. And Baba using you means Baba's using you, the soul. Baba's using your mind. Baba's using your intellect. Baba's using your feelings, your heart, because it all belongs to him anyway. And so then, yes, consciously to send out vibrations becomes actually very easy and automatic. You don't have to do anything as such, but you sit in that stage of pure feeling. And yes, you know that those vibrations are reaching the world. Sometimes when you sit consciously, I know when I do, sometimes the visualization is useful, just thinking about being a lighthouse. Body is just there, not me. And there's this light that's beaming out. So you just feel you are that light, a pillar of light. Or sometimes I think about the 8-arm Shakti, and giving visions. I don't know if anyone's had a vision, but you visualize yourself. I'm not me, Maureen, as a human being. I'm the Shakti, the 8-arm Shakti, the one filled with all powers. And it's like you feel a different vibration. And so sometimes using the different titles Baba's given, the different aspects, and you just feel vibrations coming out of you, moving through you. And you know that those vibrations are going far and wide, because there's no limit to where vibrations can reach. Words can only reach, well, with the help of the microphone, they're reaching the whole room. If you took the microphone away, they'd reach maybe half the room. But thoughts, vibrations, which come from our thoughts and feelings, they can fill the world. There's no boundary of space or time. So we're working there in Mansa Seva, in the subtle realm of the soul, which is beyond all constraints. Like Baba says now in the subtle region, I don't have to do anything for the body, so I'm free the whole time to serve. No limitation. And so here on the earth we can be in that stage beyond the pull of the body, so that we're free to serve through the power of vibrations, and for the mind to be a pure vehicle for Baba's vibrations to reach whichever soul it needs to reach. And I don't need to sit and think about a particular place, a particular person, a particular... No, that's Baba. Sometimes, yes, we say, okay, someone's sick, let us sit and give vibrations. But even then, you don't need to sit and think about the person, because it'll again become limited and yoga with that person. And Daddy Gosar gave this formula once. If you want to send vibrations, just for a second, bring that person in front of Baba. Just for a second. Then forget. You just be with Baba. And your vibrations will reach them. But if you carry on for half an hour, thinking, I'm sending vibrations to so-and-so, it'll be limited. Then Baba can use you in an unlimited way. And that's the other aspect of Mansa Seva, unlimited. No limits in anything. So these are just a few thoughts, and maybe just a few minutes. I think we're up to 6:30. I'm not sure what the program is after that. But there's a couple of questions, maybe. It's okay. Anybody have any questions or comments? No? It's clear? Yeah? You know what you have to do? Okay, well if there's no questions, let's have 5 minutes of powerful Mansa Seva. Let's be clean and clear inside and let Baba do his work. Om Shanti.